whenever we found the social messages like "Karenge ya marenge," or we get "Give me blood, I will give you freedom." This all what happens. A certain individual used to generate a huge wave among a group of individuals. So this type of interaction can happen. Again, the opposite type of interaction also happens when I go to a class and I find that students are very interactive. They used to stimulate me, and I used to deliver more informations to them. But if I go into a class where I found that there are very few individuals who are trying to interact, many are sitting in ideal postures, so I don't get that particular vibrations from them. So in the individual level, the group is getting enhanced, as well as from the group, the individual is getting enhanced. So in the definition, I have mentioned one point that in the presence of real implied or imagined individuals, like when we are in an we used to perform individual performances, when we provide individual performances, that time our performance level is not equal with when we are performing among the others. The presence of others may arouse us, and that's why our performance level may be greater or enhanced. That time we used to say it is facilitatory effect. And many of the times we have found that the presence of the others is not making us, is actually the presence of the others inhibiting our performance level. So this situation also happens. So this facilitation, so whether the presence of the others may be imagined, may be real. Whether the presence of the others enhances our performance or inhibits our performance, there also lies the social psychology. The social psychology dimensions is huge, its scopes is huge. Actually, what happens in social psychology, it's scientific in nature. Why it's scientific in nature? Because there are certain characteristics of a subject when it is called as a science. What are the characteristics? Like the accuracy. When we collect data in social psychology, we used to make a careful observation so that we can able to reach in a error-free result. So accuracy level is going to be maintained in social psychology. There is the objectivity. Objectivity used to be maintained while we are doing research in social psychology. Objectivity means bias-free, or without having the personal choices of the researchers, bias-free data. Now next comes the open-mindedness, the concept when it is enriched by whatever the information comes to it, that is called the open-mindedness. Social psychologists used to have open-mindedness as well as the skepticism. What is the meaning of skepticism? Skepticism means when we are accepting any matter by verifying it properly. By saying its establishment, empirical establishment, when we are accepting the matter, this is the skepticism. So these are used to be maintained in social psychology. That's why it's a scientific discipline. Now the thing is that social psychology also studies the impact from the definition. These are the derived things. The first derived thing is that definition given by Allport. I have already said in 1985. From that particular definition, we are deriving that social psychology is a scientific discipline. Then comes that social psychology studies the impact of individuals on the group. I have already mentioned that there are various leaders we found in different times. So whether we can say Netaji, the powerful leader, we can talk about Gandhiji, the most popular leader. We can talk about Hitler or anyone else. Every leaders used to influence as group members. Even in the present situation, if you are walking, your team leader used to influence you. So that is also influences which comes from individual level to a group level. That also happens in social psychology. Social psychology, it's a concept, and we all know that psychology itself a subject matter which is not fundamental. It's not fundamental. It is enriched by different related subjects like sociology, anthropology, computer sciences, physiology, evolutionary perspectives, all things used to influence psychology. So likewise, what happens, psychology itself is not a fundamental topic. Again, social psychology, a particular branch, we can say a particular branch of psychology, or it's a scope of psychology. Again, social psychology is not very fundamental, and it is very much related with the other related fields as well as the different processes. Like when we talk about cognitive processes, like I think that here in my students group, there are so
Excuse
many
me, ma'am.
people.
Ma'am, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. Just wanted to know which book are we following at present? I joined a little late.
See, I haven't mentioned the book name, Nidhi.
Okay.
I will tell it obviously, but after the class, we have a discussion session. In that very session, I will go with the part.
Okay.
And right now, I have to cover my syllabus. Nidhi, if I don't mention it in the discussion session, that time you must mention it to me,
Okay.
okay?
Thank
But
you.
I know I will mention it, okay?
Okay.
It's in
Which?
my mind.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Thank you, Nidhi. Okay, now right now we are talking about the thing like cognitive processes. Like I find that many of the students in IGNOU, it's not from the psychology background, so I am going into the best level. If we are talking about the psychological processes, there are three main processes. Three main process, like one is the cognitive process, another one is the affective process, and third one is the cognitive process. There are basically three types of processes. So whenever we are talking about the cognitive processes denotes the logical sense, and under it, the general psychology part you used to study sensation, attention, perception, intelligence, everything comes under cognition, thinking. You can say thinking as well as decision making, planning. Everything comes under creativity, comes under cognitive part. Now, when we talk about affective processes means emotional processes. Obviously, emotional processes indicates the things like emotions. This part is denoted by affective processes, and the other one is the cognitive process. Cognitive process indicates the behavioral process of an individual. So when we used to say behavioral means, it's not always possible that your behavior is not guided by emotions or not guided by cognition. There are certain behaviors which are very much habitual, generally by connotation. We used to mean that the habitual type of behaviors. Like if I give an example of habit-based behavior, in the morning you wake up and brush your teeth. And when you are brushing your teeth, you are not using your very much logic. Like if I don't brush my teeth, oh God, it will be infected. You don't think during brushing. Or when you are brushing your teeth, your affective process is neither in the work. Neither in the work means you are brushing your teeth because you're very much fond of this particular behavior. It's not the thing. So you are brushing your teeth. Why for? Because it's your habit. This is the cognitive part. Now, majority of the time, what we have seen, our behavior is either guided by cognitions or guided by emotions. Those who have higher level of cognitions, they do have a lower level of emotions, and those who have higher level of emotional processes, they used to have lower level of cognitions. These cognitions and emotions come in a complementary fashion. They work in our behavior. Like if I give an example, suppose you are away from your home for your work purpose, and at home your mother has prepared some good delicious food, like prawn and like that, and your mother knows that you like the prawn very much. And your mother in phone, she is saying you that if you are here today, I will be more happy because I prepared a good food from. So what will be your responses? Suppose if I ask to my students, I have found many type of responses. I am taking two. One response is like, yes, today you made it out. Okay, doesn't matter. You ate it today. When I go back home, you prepare it again for me. And the second response used to be, oh, how could you made it without me? I'm feeling very sad right now. So there are two types of responses which used to come. The first one denotes a logical thinking. This is the cognitive process. The first individual's cognitive process is higher, which is reflecting in his behavior. And for the second individual, when the individual is saying that, oh, I'm feeling very sad, I am not getting here the prawn, why have you made it right now? This is denoting that the second person's behavior is actually guided by emotional thing. So now the cognitive processes, social psychology has its link with the cognitive processes, and somehow if we say that cognitive psychology is different from social psychology, we can say it out. But sometimes we have seen that social processes and cognitive processes goes inseparably, and they have a connectivity in it. When we go into the deeper discussions of this subject, we will find it out again. Social psychology not only addresses the nature of social behavior, but also the causes of such behavior. When we are studying social psychology, it's very frank to be said that we, the human being, always involve into the evaluation part. We used to judge the others. Whenever you meet someone at the first time, you want to evaluate the person, how the person will be. Maybe at the first day you cannot able to understand, but your processing will be there. So what happens, being human being, we have a general tendency to evaluate the others and to compare ourselves with the others, as well as to evaluate our own self also. So whenever we found, basically a basic tendency is there, whenever we found something good on me, when I did a good result, what should we say? We say, yes, I am good in my studies. But when I find that someone is poor in result, we used to say, she is or he is very poor student. So for the negative things, we used to, for other individuals, when something negative happens, we used to put the cause into the person itself. But for us, something negative happens. I got a poor result. I will say, no, it's not my fault. It's absolutely the university whose fault is this, the result. So when something negative happens with us, we used to throw the cause to the outside environment. But if the negativity happens for the others, we used to throw their cause into the individual. Likewise, when something positivity happens with us, we used to internalize the fact, I got good result, yes, I am a good student. But when somebody got good result, good marks, he or she may say, anybody can say that he or she get the good marks, but it's not mean that she is a good student. She got the good marks, okay, but it doesn't mean that she is a good student. So we need to establish it out. So in social psychology, we used to study an individual's behavior, how the behavior is affected by its social surroundings, as well as how that individual is influencing the other individuals. These things, as well as the causes of the behavior also. Now, social psychology has its very much enriched perspective, historical perspectives. Like if we say social psychology has its connectivity, by name you can say that social psychology. Social psychology has its connectivity with psychology as well as with the sociology. Psychology, we know in psychology what happens. We are very much the psychologists used to deal with individuals' behavior. This behavior may be the internal behavior, overt behavior, or it may be the manifested behavior, overt behavior. So we used to study that how the mind is working for an individual as well as we for a group also. We are not only, I mean, many of the times we do have a pitfalls for the psychologists present in Kolkata or India, that what happens to us, we are very much involved in the individual level actually, but we also have to think about the group level because, you know, when a psychologist is working in the defense, so he has to think about a large population, not for the single individual, obviously for the single individual also, but for the large individual also. Like why for the a large individual we need to make a thought. Like in Siachen, the temperature used to be minus 50 degrees, but 5 kilometers away from the Siachen, there is another place. That place, the temperature, I forgot the name of that place, but the temperature of that place is plus 50 degrees. So see how the difference used to make be in between the 5 kilometers. And the soldiers, a group of soldiers has to face the pathetic situation. Minus 50 degrees is a miserable condition. Again, plus 50 degrees is again a miserable condition. So when you are, as a psychologist, trying to feel their conditions, how they can improve themselves, the soldiers, in such a terrible situation, you are thinking about a group of soldiers. Now, at the present scenario, when the social psychologist was thinking about the corona victims as well as the huge populations who are in India, about the social psychologists used to think about themselves because, you know, if you are affected in corona, you have sufferings, and if you are not affected by corona, then also you have your sufferings. So sufferings is everywhere in present situation because we are going with pandemic situation. So this is the social psychologist who is thinking about a group of individuals, as well as being the psychologist. We used to thinking and the individual level also, like in the individual level, how an individual can overcome his post-traumatic stress disorder, how an individual can overcome his anxiety level. And for us, though we are all human beings, we do have different experiences. So in the individual ground also, we have our work. So psychology used to deal with that thing. When we call our sociology used to think about how the social changes, how the social processes are functioning, what are the social institutions, organizations, they have their topic on families, societies, organization, and many of the things. So these two subjects, both are social and comes under social sciences. These two subjects are the mother subject for social psychology. Social psychology comes from both psychology as well as the sociology. Now, if we go into the historical part, in a single day, nothing happens. You know, whatever is happening, it has its root causes. And the idea is far beyond far beyond and very dates back to the time of Plato. Plato considers a man as social organism because, you know, no man is self-sufficient. If I want to survive, I cannot survive alone in my society. I have to depend on the other individuals. For just take an example, lucid example, like in the class, I am a teacher. I feel myself satisfied when I teach the students. Suppose in the class there is no students and only I am seated. Today I have joined this link at 9:25 because our class is going to be started at 9:30. So I have joined 9:25. There were no students. I am sitting alone. So I feel myself satisfied when I teach. But see, there is no students to whom I am going to teach. So for myself, I need to depend on the other individual, obviously. So no man is self-sufficient. So man has to be seen as a social organism as per Plato's concept. And that's why when the individual's behavior is that much important as the individual behaves in a group, in a crowd. And in a crowd, you must say that the behavior of the individual level get differs. Get differs means in the mob, we have seen so much irrational behaviors used to happen. For an example, suppose riot is taking place and an individual is মানে মারছে কাটছে অন্য লোকেদেরকে ধরে একেবারে খুন করছে মানে an individual is মানে মানে a murderer used to murders so many person. But if you go to visit that person in an individual level, when the individual is alone, he or she may not murder the other individual. But when he or she is in the mob, his emotion is actually influenced by the other's emotions also. So individual's level of functioning gets differ when that particular individual is in a particular group. So here we have seen that social psychology is a perspective, is a branch of psychology which is enormously enriched by Gordon Allport, by Auguste Comte, and you know, at the beginning, 1908 is the year when E.A. Ross mentioned, E.A. Ross is a sociologist who has mentioned the term social psychology and written a book on social psychology. And the same year, we have seen that there is William McDougall, who has written book on social psychology, and the name of the book is Introduction to Social Psychology. If you study motivation as a chapter of your curriculum, you will find this McDougall's viewpoints. There is so many things on motivation. So from that perspective, McDougall has said that social behavior comes from the social instinct. Social behavior, social relationships, social interactions is getting to be influenced by the social instinct. And whenever the concept of instinct is there, a bit little of emotion obviously come over there. So McDougall, as a psychologist, as a book writer, has mentioned that instinct, sentiment, socializations are very much important in human behavior. So now we are in around 2020, and so many, more than 200 textbooks are available right now. See, the journey is not very long. It's from the term social psychology comes by Ross in 1908, and today we are in 2020, but more than 2000 textbooks are there available. So this denotes that so many works are taking place on social psychology. So what the thing is that when the journey, the mother subject started from the psychology and the sociology, from that divisions, we actually get two types of social psychology. One is the psychological social psychology, and another one is the sociological social psychology. So obviously we are the psychologists and we are more fond of the psychological social psychology. And you know, in this regard, you do have Frege and Crutchfield, you do have Scott and Scott's, so many Beckman, so many theories you will get in this matter. Psychological social psychology, synonymously said as within the skin process, because how an individual is acting in a group. The main thing is that when we are studying social psychology, one thing we have to assume that, and that thing we cannot able to disregard, the fact is that when we interact with the other individual, we used to have our mask. Why the mask is needed? Because we all have a craving for social acceptance. We are social being. We do have a craving for social acceptance. To present ourselves more socially acceptable fashion, we need to modify ourselves a bit little. That's why we used to wear a mask. From there, that is the in the last class I have talked about the personality theory. Personality, the term comes from the persona means the mask. Now there lies the two concept merges of each other: personality theories of the which we used to discuss in psychology classes, and the social psychology. Those two concepts merges somewhere. So these are not the very discrete things. Rather, there are certain relatedness exist. Now, when we are coming into the sociological, social psychology, that times between skin processes are getting to be more important. Between skin processes means group as a unit of interaction, group as a unit of subject matter is getting to be considered over there. When I used to go for watching a football match in Kolkata, there is a huge craze on Mohun Bagan and East Bengal. When after the match, particular one group used to win. When after the match they returns home, if you see, suppose East Bengal won, so what a craze among the followers of the East Bengal members you will find. And that typical behavior between group behavior is really a subject matter of study in that case. But later on, we have found Newcomb, who is more focusing on the interacting part and interacting group. He has said that interaction is very much important whenever we are studying social psychology. The thing is that later on, according to the development, we have seen that social psychology as a matter of study is linked with also with religion. That's why I have mentioned an example right over here in the class. So here we have seen the development in different stages, like from 1908 to 1945. We have seen in 1922, there is one eminent personality named Morton Prince. Morton Prince is actually fond of social psychology as well as the personality psychology. And later on, he has established with a group of individuals, he has established Social Psychology Journal that is entitled as Journal of Abnormal and Social Psychology. And later the term abnormal has been replaced by personality. So finally it's named as Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. So after that, we have seen the journey is very huge for the social psychology. Like in 1932, Likert has developed its scale. It's on attitude. What I am doing right now, I'm saying, I am going to discussing the historical perspectives, how the journey of the social psychology is taking place. So, the different concepts are coming, which concepts are generally described by the social psychologists, like the attitude. Attitude has its, you do have a chapter which is on attitude, your attitude towards the corona patients attitude towards her life, the survival of the corona patient's attitude towards life. The attitude is a subject matter. So again, sociometry is a subject matter. Sociometry reveals how a group functions. There are, different types of groups. In some groups, vertical relationships are used to be maintained. Like lower level of individuals can easily mix with the higher level of individuals, but in the same group, they are not able to mix up. There are some horizontal relationships within the group. So what happens in horizontal relationships? You in your group can easily mix, but you cannot able to mix, or you don't have the allowance to mix with the upper grade individuals or lower grade individuals. So this is the mixing pattern, interaction pattern within the group, and this is actually guided by the leaders of that particular group. There is no neat written norms within the groups, but unwritten, obviously, norms. And leaders used to play a huge role. So, how a group functions, what are the different roles members do have, what are their status, how their needs are used to be maintained, only the group needs is getting to be maintained, or the individual level of needs are also taken care. This is the form, these are the different sorts of things which we go in the sociometric part. Then comes in this very time, we do have Society for the Psychological Study and Social Issues. This is in short named as SPSSI. A group of individuals has found it out, and recently it is a division of American Psychological Association, APA. It's a APA, you are in psychology, so see, whenever you are studying abnormal psychology or like that, you will get APA name in different way. So now when if I considers 1945 to 1970, this particular stage, here we are getting Caught living name you will get in your Gestalt psychology also. He is a famous Gestalt psychologist. He, with the help of him, applied psychology, concept of applied psychology emerges. Now, what is applied psychology? If I talk about, see, a science. A science, if you want to establish a science, it will be not a satisfactory one unless it has its application value. Theory is obviously there, but theory doesn't mean all until and unless you are applying that theory into the demands of the society. There lies the applied social psychology concepts. Like in social psychology, we will study so many things. Like you will study attribution, perception, social perception. You will study prejudice, discriminations, attitude. We will go with all those things. But see, if you are a social psychologist, you have to imply your ideas of social psychology to the environment, to the world, to the external world. So that there lies the applied social psychology, how you are going to apply the concepts. There lies the applied social psychology. Like at the present situation, a social psychologist can help the other individuals to enlighten about the concept of social distancing. Social distancing is a term which is which is there in everywhere, the social distancing. But social distancing, think deeper, in a deeper way. Is it possible to fight against corona with social distancing? The term is actually physical distancing. We need to maintain a physical distance, but if social bonding is not there, we are unable to fight against corona. Actually, we have to stay beside the corona patients. We have to deliver them food, water, and whatever the daily needs required. So this is the work of the present day social psychologists, to help the others, to generate the ideas that how can we overcome the situation. And today world, we are today the entire universe is actually struggling with the health issue. Health issue is a very much important thing for the applied social psychology. Legal issue is important for the applied social psychology. Parallelly, environment, we are all struggling with the environmental issues, because pollution is raised up so high. This is again under the considerations of the applied social psychologists researchers. So there lies the applied social psychology concepts, and in this very much period within 1970, from 1945 to 1970, we have seen that communication, attitude, measurement, and changes, moral, leadership, propaganda, group structure, intergroup prejudice, stereotype, interpersonal relationships, all these are very important subject matter for the social psychology. In this regard, we must not forget about Leon Festinger's an important personality for the social psychology who has worked on social comparison. Many of the times, I said in my initial phase of the class that being a human, we used to compare ourselves with the others. Suppose I'm a student and I got a moderate level of marks, and I am to my parents, I'm saying, oh, I got a very good marks, really, because am I got better marks than one of my friends. I got more marks than one of my friends. This denotes, what does this mean? That means my reference point may not be a proper one. I have chosen a friend of mine who is not a very good student, but I am a average student. I have chosen that 4 students to compare myself. Again, what happens? Sometimes I got a good marks, but I'm saying to my parents, oh, I got a very poor marks. Why for? Because I am comparing myself with a student who is really a very good student. So many of the times, what happens? Our reference points are very much are erroneous. We cannot able to get a proper reference point many of the times. These are the things which we get under social comparison theories. You know, many of the times, this is a real life situation which I am going to talk about. There are many teenage kids who used to walk in that very posture with a moving shoulder. They used to walk from the road and with a sunglass in the backside of the shirt. They used to reveal a certain character, a certain hero or actor from the Bollywood. They used to imitate it, but they don't think that particular hero is in the Bollywood. They are acting on the silver screen, and we, the heroes, are walking in the real life. Their situation, the context is different. So there lies the social psychology, and we have seen that aggression, pro-social behavior, altruism, everything comes under it. Then when after 1970, we have seen that experimental psychology, another branch of social psychology, is also strengthening the concept of social psychology, and in that case, cultural influences on social behavior are getting to be prominent. That time, it's no doubt that cognitive revolution has already formed, and cognitive revolution helped a lot in the social psychological arena. And as well as this, after 1970, the social processes, cognitive processes, all actually helping a lot in people's relationship. And now in your book, you will get that from within the time period of 1970 to 1980, it is called as a maturing field. The social psychology is called that it's a time of maturing field when gender-related issues as well as environmental psychology is getting its prominence. Gender issues, I must mention that many of the times, being a layman, we used to say, not being a layman, excuse me, Azad Ali Malik, do you want to say anything, any question in your mind, or else please unmute yourself. Azad Ali Malik, unmute yourself or ask question. Azad Ali Malik, unmute yourself or ask question. Like I'm continuing my lecture, so many of the time being a lay individual, what we usually do, we used to say that boys are better in such and such regards in comparison to girls. Or we say women are better in such and such regards than the men's. But we forget that the setup is different. How a lady, how a girl is nurturing is different from how a boy is nurturing in his early childhood days. So when the setup is different, we cannot able to say that because of the gender, these differences has been taken place. We cannot say it out. Azad Ali Malik, please unmute
Ma'am, we
yourself.
can't hear anything, ma'am.
Azad Ali Malik, please unmute yourself. Azad Ali Malik, please unmute yourself. Now the thing is that when we are talking about gender differences, we cannot pinpoint the fact that this differences is only because of gender, because the two individuals has been getting their nurturance from the other setup. So you cannot only identify that because of the gender this changes has been taken place. So gender issues are huge issues which has been raised in 1970 and 80s in social psychology. And you know, growing
Ma'am,
influences of
excuse me, ma'am.
cognitive.
Ma'am, can I ask a
Yes.
question, please? Ma'am,
Hmm.
sorry to interrupt. Ma'am, like the talking about gender differences that you're talking about, gender is actually a stereotype, ma'am. But can we also attribute these differences to, like, some people think of it as a particular choice? So can we attribute that as well in the psyche, ma'am?
See, this question can be better explained with in your personality classes. And the
Okay, ma'am.
thing is that gender is a stereotype concept. When we go in the stereotype part, when we explain that part, we will discuss it out. And the thing is that now today's class focus is on the different issues. Presently, I am focusing on the different issues of social psychology. But that's it. So under psyche, what happens regarding gender, this is not into this class discussion. So in personality class, you just remember your question, we will talk about it. Okay. I'm just mentioning that gender issues as getting its priority in social psychology during 1970 to 90s. Right? Is it okay with you?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So now, thank you, thank you. So the thing is that growing emphasis, it's in 1970 and 80, there is a huge growing emphasis on the applications of personal health, legal processes, work setting, education, and population studies. After in between 1990s and beyond, there are basically two kinds of focuses has its importance, like the cognitive perspectives and its applications, and the second one is the affective state in determining the social behavior. These two are very much important concepts beyond 1990s. The current trend actually what shows, before that in 1990s, there is also multicultural perspectives of social psychology. Now, what is the current trend? The current trend is on evolutionary social psychology, the changing world, technology, and human social behavior, neurocognitive perspective, and the social behaviors. So these are the different. This is actually the journey of social psychology in general. One must I just as he has made a question. I don't know his name. It is as RV United United in that way comes. I'm not going into the deeper level of that particular questions, but I just mention a point in the middle range theories. What are the coming? Like psychoanalytical perspectives. In psychoanalytical perspective, a human being has been considered as a striving man. So a striving man is the creator of the society, not the product of the society. A striving man is the creator of the society, not the product of the society. And this is the individual in society. But this psychoanalytical perspective, when contributes to the social psychology, it denotes that how child rearing practices help an individual to form a certain social behavior. Like if I consider lack of self-control, if I attribute a certain gender has lack of self-control, in psychoanalytical ground, in the contribution to social psychology, they may say that this is because of the child rearing practices. Suppose a family is very much permissive to the child. Maybe the family's genetic character, the parents' own genetic characteristics, or maybe the social characteristics. Maybe the parents are very poor. So, whatever the cause may be, the parents are very permissive type. So, what happens when a permissive parent child grows up? It used to show lack of self-control. But self-control as a behavior, we cannot just attribute or throw it as that he or she is in particular that gender. So that denotes that they should have a lack of self-control. So in that way, these things are used to be taken place. Like for the cognitive psychology, what happens? Cognitive psychology considers man as a thinking agent. So man as a thinking agent, what actually happens? The entire world is actually represented in the man's mind in an experiential way. The man has his own experience about the world, and from that, when that particular cognitive psychology contributes to the societal level, it studies of attitudes and values, languages, thoughts, group dynamics, and action research. So when we are talking on behavioristic perspective, it considers man as reactive agent. So whenever reactive agent, different social cues influences me, and these social cues are the stimulus to me. And from that stimulus, I am generating my response. Again, my response is the stimulus to you, and you are generating your own responses. In that way, it is actually going on. So from that point of view, when the behavioristic perspective contributes to the social psychology, it used to say that experimental and theoretical approaches are much important. Study of socialization, social rewards and punishments are very much important. Suppose in the class, someone asked me a question. I said, it's a very good question. He or she is getting a reward to say another reward, which leads her to do one more question. And if an individual asks me a question, I say, oh, it's a very poor question. I already discussed it out. Why are you asking the same thing again and again? From there, he or she is getting the punishment. And from that punishment, negative feeling, he has a tendency not to ask questions further, not to repeat the behavior again. So, in that way, these things used to taking place. So this is a journey when what I have talked about regarding social psychology. Now, if I focus on the Indian perspective, the overview of social psychology in Indian perspective, India is a very enriched country. It has long its tradition, and Western countries used to link us in different time. We have seen it. So from that point of view, there is a prominent difference between the Eastern and Western perspective. It is obvious fact. You also know that there exists a huge difference between the Indian and Western perspective. Like when you are talking about the Western perspectives, we used to talk more on memory, on intelligence, on perception, sensation. So many things are the subject matters over there. But one thing is that when you talk about Eastern perspectives, the subject matter is the individual's own experiences, not in the outside world, but within the inner world. Western culture used to have two prominent dimensions. One is the physical dimension, another one is the social dimension, and it's needless to say that they have focused more on the physical dimension part. But if you follow the Western culture, Eastern culture, our culture focuses on an individual's one's own journey. Many of the branches, like Western culture, also have many branches, psychoanalytical schools, cognitive schools, behavioristic schools, so many branches. For us, there are also so many branches. We have Vedanta perspectives, Buddhism perspectives. We do have many perspectives, Shankhodosho, many of the perspectives. So the perspectives, all the perspectives actually hit one point. That point is the self-realization. You can say know thyself, you can say it Atmanam Vidhi, Nijeke Janu. That self-realization, that journey is very much important. And for that, self-transformation, reincarnation, yoga, different types of yoga, these are getting the priority. So our thing is different. The way we used to look the society is obviously different. Here Tom used to say symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic relationship means individual and the society, two are interdependent. Two are interdependent. Like we used to belong in a simpler form. We can, I can say that we are in a collectivist society. Supposing for us, a student is in just taking his or her admission in the college level, and that moment she has to discuss with all her family members, in fact from the grandparents level also, in which college she is getting to be entered, which subject she is opting for. This discussions not entirely depends on her. But if you go for the individualistic society, for the Western culture, their own decisions they used to take. And that's why, because of the societal perspective is different, so somewhere or the others, the perspective differs between the two cultures. They have given much more importance on the quantitative factors, quantitative numerical representations, but for us, qualitative factors are equally very much important. We have seen that in 1916, the first psychology has been established. The first psychology in university level, the first psychology department has been established in Calcutta University in India. And that time Ashutosh Mukherjee and Brojendranath Shil, these two are playing very much important role, these two persons. And later on, Introduction to Social Psychology has been written by Professor S. Sen Gupta and Radha Kamal Mukherjee in 1928. And later on, we have found many social psychologists are there, like P.H. Prabhu in 1954, Sharma in 1981. Even you will get social psychology book written by Sharma also. Parekh 1980. They used to talk a lot about the social changes, social roles, social perception, social motivation, interpersonal processes, extroversion as a trait, need for achievement, interpersonal attraction, anxiety, authoritarianism, dogmatism, and many, many more topics. The social psychology as a science has been established because it maintains its objectivity. Its researchers is to maintain the causality, cause-effect relationship. And you know, what is the ultimate aim of a psychologist? Who is a good psychologist? If I ask a question, who is a good psychologist? When you came close to that person and you feel a comfortable zone, you will feel a comfortability in the presence of that particular individual. He or she is a good psychologist. So likewise, who is a good personality psychologist? Who can predict an individual's behavior? He is a good personality psychologist. Now again, who is a good social psychologist? A psychologist who can identify what an individual's behavior will be in a particular social setting. He or she is a good social psychologist. So in each and every time we are saying, observing that prediction is very important for a psychologist. When we can able to predict through our research, also we used to predict the behavior, whether from the explicit theory, the background may be anything, explicit theory, or the background may be my own internal conceptualization. But the thing is that whether I can able to predict the behavior. So in that way, social psychology has its connectivity with the general psychology also, because in general psychology book you will address so many things, behaviors like perception, memory, intelligence, motivation, emotion, personality, so many things. In social psychology, you will get but restricted behavior, restricted in the sense a particular individual's behavior in a social setup. That you will get. But obviously, social psychology is highly linked with the general psychology. Social psychology is linked with sociology. I have already discussed it about. But the thing is that sociologists used to focus more as a research method, survey and observational method. Social psychologists also do survey and as well as the observation, but the main part is lab experiment. They focus more on, social psychologists used to focus more on the lab experiments. Social psychology is connected with personality psychology, and I have already discussed it. Social psychology and anthropology. Now, in anthropology, they used to study the cultural comparisons, and basically those cultures which are primitive, pre-literate, pre-urban people, which used to consider. So, as well as in social psychology, also there is a link with the anthropology, and in your book you will get that social linguistic, social psychology is linked with the social linguistic concept. In each and every culture, there is a typical pattern of language, because language is a overt behavior, obviously, and it's a spontaneous. It's a culture used to structure our language a lot. Like if I say my mother tongue is Bengali, I think many of the students have their mother tongue Bengali. Some have different other mother tongue also. But Bengali is also differs. If you find a individual who is from Malda, his tone is different. If we found an individual who is in Kolkata, his tone is different. An individual in Bakura, her tone is different. So, in that way, the culture used to shape the throwing behavior of the speech, as well as if you, in a broader concept, if you see, the way we are very much over here, I think that myself also, we are familiar with Bengali as well as with English. So I'm taking these two particular subjects as an example. The way we used to arrange Bengali, Ram Bari Jai, maybe not that particular sentence or whatever it may be, the syntaxing is different. Syntaxing means the way we arrange the sentence, a particular sentence in Bengali, is different from the way we arrange a sentence in English. The cultural differences exist over there. So likewise, social psychology also accepts the fact that cultural differences are there, obviously. So right now, I have completed the first unit of your book, and that unit is denoting nature and you for MPC4 Introduction to Psychology. This is book 1. And here in unit 1, you do have nature and concept of social psychology and social psychology related to other disciplines. That has been completed. Now I am entering into the methods part. Methods of social psychology. This is in the same book, block 1 and unit 3, methods of social psychology. Don't worry, I know many of there who are thinking about their books concept, but I will going to discuss which book you are going to follow. Obviously, so first I will teach. Okay, after that we are going into the discussion method. We have our time. Don't worry. If you have any question in your mind, you just write it down or try to remember it until we are going into that particular phase. So if we go with the methods, now Methods is very important for any type of, any branch of psychology, because you know what I have said, because a subject does not enrich, can't able to enrich itself until and unless enough research is taking place in particular on the basis of that particular subject. And if I need to prove myself that obviously it's a science, so that time I have to give so much effort. Like the mother subject of psychology is actually what? Philosophy. And while philosophy is wrestling with the other subjects, like other core science subjects with chemistry, physics, mathematics, it actually fails in this particular race. Why fails? Because you know they do have a particular, they used to work in a ratio scale, they have absolute zero concept, and they can establish anything and empirically in a 2 plus 2 4 manner. So obviously philosophy can't able to do that because its science is different. So from there, from the Greek philosopher's mind, psychology is the Greek philosopher's mind is the birthplace of the psychology. So from then, they wanted to make a science which has philosophy, obviously, as well as a scientific approach. So these two combined in psychology. But it's our unfortunate thing that sometimes we used to lose our that temperament. While being psychologists, we used to scatter ourselves in a division way, philosophy in a different particular way, because you know, it used to see the Indian perspectives a lot, and science runs in a different way because it's used to denote the Western perspectives a lot. So here is another approach. So we have to work a lot because we have to make our subject as a scientific one, because whenever you are talking about science, you have to prove it. And when you want to prove it out, you have to show 2 plus 2 equals to 4, that empirical approach. Now the thing is that, suppose a teacher came and suppose 2 teachers, you have done classes of 2 teachers in a particular single day, both are new to you. For one teacher, you can say that she enjoys the class. And for another teacher, you can say, oh, she doesn't enjoy the class. We have to suffer a lot for her. We used to deliver that kind of messages many of the time. So where lies the difference between, from the gestures, from the postures, from the wordings, from the throwings, from the replying behaviors? From there you are getting the messages. As a psychologist, what is required, you need to enhance your observational skill. A good psychologist doesn't have to study psychology always. Why? Who is the good psychologist? If I ask in that question into the class, many of the time, your true reply will be, ma'am, my mother is a good psychologist. Yes, your mother is a good psychologist for you, but not for you all. Why? Because, you know, your mother observes you so closely and can feel you from your own point of view. She has an empathetic eye for yourself. There lies the thing. She is a good psychologist for you. If you build up the capacity to generate empathetic vision for the other individuals, if you have the capacity to observe more accurately to the other individuals, obviously you will be the good psychologist. In psychology, we used to say Rabindranath Tagore is a great philosopher, is a great psychologist. Yes, but did Rabindranath Tagore ever study psychology as a master degree, in a master degree or undergraduate curriculum? No, not required. Because that skill, that inner eye within himself, there lies the psychology. So, in the method also, there are research. If we go with the research approaches, there are two types of research approaches. One is a quantitative research approach, another one is a qualitative research approach. You will get many more information through the observation only. You will get many more information through the observation only. And if you, like, see, many of the times I have seen that those who are very much famous clinical psychologists, not famous, those who are expert in the clinical field, suppose a patient is entering into the room, observing the patient's walking, gestures, postures, the psychologist can able to say whether that individual is suffering with schizophrenia or with depression or with OCD. Where is the concept? Where is the testing? The concept is in the inside eye. There is, so if your inside eye is so strong, you don't need to go for the testing and all, because your testing gives you some numerals, and we psychologists, our fortune or misfortune, whatever you can say, while observing any behavior, we can say so much thing, but we have to administer tests, we have to conduct different experiments, because we have to transfer the behavior into digits or numerals, into numbers. Again, those numbers we need to transform into the words. Like when you are administering a test, how much stress, what is the stress level of your client? You are administering a test to the client. The client, while filling up the questionnaire, is saying so much things through gestures, postures, or through verbally saying so much things. So that time you can understand much more, and that typical information you will not get from the questionnaire itself, because your questionnaire will give only some digits. But we have to prove our subjects as science, so we need to transform the behavior. The behavior may be verbal or non-verbal. We need to transform the behavior into numbers. Again, the numbers into certain words. Why in certain words? Because after getting the result, you need to write a report. You need to discuss the result. So that behavior is actually breaking in two times. One time from behavior to number, second time from number to certain words. So here what happens in psychology, there are two research methods. One is the quantitative, another one is the qualitative. In quantitative, obviously with the words, with the different theoretical explanations, with related explanations, we used to discuss, reveals our discussion. And what happens in quantitative approach, through the numbers, through the statistical, you have a paper on statistics. Why the statistics is there? Because you have to use the statistics towards the behavior. And after implying a certain statistics, you need to give a report. You need to write a discussion. This is the quantitative research methods. Because quantitative, why? Because numbers or numerals have been used over there. So again, see, we all know the fact that statistics, we cannot use arbitrarily any statistics to anywhere. For this statistics also, there is a certain logic. We need to follow methodology. Methodology is another paper for yours. So what is methodology? Methodology and statistics too are correlated. Why correlated? Because methodology by term, what is the meaning of methodology? Method behind using, logic behind using a method. You are implying a method, but what is the logic? You can able to imply a statistical method even, but what is the logic? So that logical ground used to describe the methodology. Methodology is a paper with which the complementary part is the statistics. So what happens? We actually get two types of research: quantitative and qualitative. Qualitative research is very difficult, very much expertizations is actually required, because when you are establishing something with the help of the numerals, it is easier to be proven, as well as to make a debate with the critics also. But whenever you are establishing something with certain words, it's obviously very difficult to be proven. So experts have to work so hard if he or she goes with the qualitative research methods. In your in your book, under method of analysis, there are basically 4 methods which has been mentioned. What are these 4 methods? One is the observational method, 2 is the correlational method, 3 is the experimental method, and 4 is the ethnography. Now I'm repeating again: observational method, correlational method, experimental method, and ethnography. Now the thing is that the first 3 are the basically quantitative research method with the numerals. Observation can goes into the qualitative method also. So observation can be useful for both quantitative as well as the qualitative. But correlation and experimental methods are basically for the quantitative research methods, and ethnography is the qualitative again. So when we are talking about the observational research methods, it's a very simple method. It's practicing is very ancient practice. It's when you are making a certain observation, that time the observation method is taking place. So the thing is that before going into the observation method, I want to mention one thing: method of gaining knowledge. Method of gaining knowledge evolves as the year passes. In the earlier times, observation was a very am I not audible? Someone has written it out, but am I not audible? Please someone reply it. Am I not audible?
Audible, ma'am.
Audible, okay. So I don't know, someone is saying that I'm not audible. Okay.
No, fully
Thank you. Many of you have written, yes, ma'am, audible. Okay, thank you. Actually, technical issues are there always. So there are problems, obviously, but it's very good for us that we are fighting in that way. Fighting means, we try to, education cannot stop. Even we are facing the pandemic situation also. Education is the baseline of any civilization. So it's very good that you are doing classes, and we are really very thankful to our students who are so enthusiastic, so active. Thank you. So now I'm continuing my study, my teaching that observational method is very age-old practice. Like in the earlier time, when the people in the ancient civilization, I must not use the civilization term. When the people used to live in a cave, that time what happens? They used to observe. From the repeated observation, whatever the finding they used to get, that is the truth to them. Suppose the individual used to have seen that many of the times there in the sky, it has been seen there is a yellow something that is passes. So repeated observation denotes that yes, it is true that there is something yellow object which used to pass from the sky. Later on, it changes when the people used to stay in a group. That time, the formation of the group teaches them that no, method of authority is very important. Method of authority means someone is a leader, whatever he has given information is true. Like for us also, method of authority exists. like in the class when you ask, ma'am, which book should I follow? Whatever the book name your teacher used to say, you used to buy that book only, not the other books, though they are available. Why not? Because what happened? Ma'am has said, ma'am is the authority. So it is important to follow her word. Like for in today's world, we have seen whatever information we are getting from the Gita, Bible, these are the truth. Why truth? Because they have the method of authority. Later on comes the a priori method, and after that, the scientific method, which is very much important nowadays. So observation has its practice from the beginning of the civilization. So here we can describe the behavior. From that descriptions, many of the time people can form the causes, and many of the times people used to observe the overt behavior only, not the underlying covert behavior also. So the experts need to maintain that behavior also. Even in observation, there are sometimes, repeated observations are required. Genuine cause, it's very difficult to identify the genuine cause, because you have observed that whenever Ram entered the school, Sham also enters. So you cannot predict Ram's entering into the school is the cause for Sham's entering. Why not? Because many of the time things are associated, but one does not really lead the other. That is also very true. So this is the very important, because many of the times we just only observing the things, we used to predict or we used to form causality, which may not be a true one. Observation can be of any type, like formal, informal. If you are recording your observation, that is a formal method. If you are not recording it, informal method. Observation can be participant observation or non-participant observation. Suppose being a researcher, you want to study school children's aggressive behavior, but preschoolers' aggressive behavior. You are entering in a nursery school, and you are mixing with the little kids. You are forming a situation when the kids will going to show you the aggression level. You are interacting with the kids group. That time your observation is the participant observation, because from where you are collecting the data, you are participated in that particular group. This is the participant observation. If we go with the non-participant observation, you are not being the observer, being researcher, you are not participating in the group. Rather, you are hiding behind a door, and the students are seated over there, and you are observing the little kids, that how they are revealing their aggressive behavior. So that time you are not participating directly, you are not in a direct interaction with that group, but you are studying their behavior from behind the door. So that is the non-participant observation. The thing is that in observational method of data collection, it has two main advantages over the self-report methods. One is they can often be made without disturbing the naturally occurring behavior. You can study the naturally occurring behavior, because in observation you can go to the setup, that is a natural setup. You don't need to make up the artificial environment into your laboratory. You don't, because whenever you making an artificial environment into your laboratory, the participants also, whatever behavior they are going to reflect on gets artificial, because they know that he is a person to whom I have came to give data. He is studying my aggressive behavior. He is a teacher of mine or a great researcher. So all those information, all those information used to influence the person a lot. So these influences also actually influencing the person's behavior also. So you cannot able to identify the original behavior of that particular individual. Even where people know that they are being observed, in acting behaviors may be quite engrossing. There are also certain disadvantages because in it never happens that being a researcher you are going to the natural setup, or in natural setup there are so many extra factors which can influence your data. In natural setup you may not get your permission. Many of the things used to hamper your researchers, and as well you cannot control their entire procedure over there. So being researchers, there are so many problems in the natural setting also. And what happens in observation method, you cannot establish one thing based on observation method only, because observation is very important method. If you collecting data focusing on correlational method, if you're collecting data based on experimental approaches, you can use your observational skill then also. Because as a researcher, if you observe your participants, this is called behavioral observation, is very important, because whatever the data you are getting, these are the numerals you are getting, and if you observe a lot to the participants, from your observation you can identify at least what results are going to come. For the understandability of getting the result, what type of or what nature of your result will be, you don't need to calculate always, because your observation is enough at that point of time. But what happens to us, with the help of observational method, we need to follow some scientific methods, some quantitative methods also. Like many of the times we used to say that the observation is the participant's own observation is also very important, because when you write your lab practicals, there is a subjective report, or in IGNU you may have some other term also, that in subjective report what you usually write, what is the feeling, perception of the participants himself or herself while he or she is giving the data. While he or she is giving the data to you, she or he must have a level of perception, a feeling, an emotion. They can write it under the subjective report, because the researcher can link these things also with the main result of the research. So here lies our observational method. Then comes our correlational method. Now in methodology, you have seen that many of the times that method is very important. Correlational method, method is very important in different type of psychology you have seen. One point is that these are the repetitive discussion. One who teaches you industrial psychology, one who teaches you personality theories, general psychology, all the teacher will go with this particular path. Development, whether you are studying developmental psychology, you have to know its methods, because in that very psychology, how you are going to collect data, that is equally very important. So what happens in correlational method? First, you have to understand correlation. I don't know whether you have done this statistics correlation. Have you done this statistics? Please, you can reply it through the the chatting also in your chat box. You can write your comment, or you can unmute yourself and reply it to me. Have you studied correlation statistics in your class? I'm not asking it from the psychology background students. I'm just asking to the non-psychology background students, whether in your statistics class, have you go with correlation? Yes.
From non-psychology background,
Okay,
Yes,
very
I
good. It's
studied correlation between two variables in statistics.
Ekdom. That is very good. Now see, when correlation, thank you Safiyun Nessa. So whenever the thing is that correlation is there, correlation. So in correlation, you are establishing the relationship between two variables. Between two variables, and the relationship pattern used to explain two things. One is the magnitude of relationship, and second is the nature of relationship. Nature of relationship and magnitude of relationship. Nature denotes the direction. Direction means positive or negative. There may be positive relationship between two variables, or there may be negative relationship between two variables, or there may be no relationship between the two variables. And the magnitude, if there occurs a positive relationship, to what extent this relationship exists. If there is a negative relationship, to what extent these relationships exist. That is the main concept of correlation. And we all know that correlational value, coefficient of correlation. What is the coefficient of correlation? After computing the correlation, you are getting a value, the result. Whatever your obtained result is in correlation, it is called coefficient of correlation. Coefficient of correlation never goes beyond plus minus 1, except certain situations. These other exceptional situations, it generally stays in between plus minus 1. So if I took the dimension in that way, minus 1 to 0, 0 to plus 1. 0 to plus 1, whatever the values come, it may be plus 0.20, plus 0.35, plus 0.48, plus 0.69, plus 0.72, plus 0.89, plus 0.99, all denotes the positive correlation. So if somewhere I found plus 0.20, obviously it is lower positive correlation, but the correlation is in lower level. If it is plus 0.50, it is on a positive relationship on average level. If the value is plus 0.100, it denotes high positive correlation. Again, from the opposite direction, from 0 to minus 1.00, if the value is minus 0.15, this is the lower negative correlation. If the value is minus 0.55, moderate level of negative correlation. If the value is minus 0.98, high level of negative correlation. In your book, in your IGNOU book, there is a example given, like whether there exists any relationship between income and happiness. This example has been given in the I don't think that there actually exists. It's mentioned in your book. That's why I'm mentioning it in your class. If a researcher found that, yes, the more an individual has its income, the greater happiness he or she can achieve it. What happens? One variable is the income, that is, as it is raising. Another variable is the happiness. It is also raising. Likewise, the direction is in the same way. This is the positive correlation. If a researcher found that as the income increases, the happiness decreases likewise. This is again what happens. The direction is not same. Income is raising, but happiness is decreasing. The direction is in the opposite way. So this is the negative correlation. And if you found that actually when there is no relationship between income and the happiness, so you will get a zero correlation. So this is the basic nature of the correlation. And what happens? Correlational research, I don't know whether you have that concept or not, that correlation as a statistical method is a descriptive statistics. Correlation is a descriptive statistics. It can be able to describe the data only. So in correlation and research also, we can describe the data, obviously. So regarding any issue, we can explore the issue with the help of correlational research. Often we can we do have our like independent variable. Not in that way. Do you have any concept on variables? You can unmute yourself and can reply me, or you can give your comment in your chat box also. Do you have any concept on variable? Yes. One more thing, I am not talking to them, those who are from psychology background. Okay. Olivia Tonima already has mentioned, yes, ma'am. I'm not asking any thing to them who are from psychology background. Like Shureshna has mentioned that no, ma'am. Okay, so variables.
Ma'am, we just know a basic concept of what is a variable. That we know, or that it carries some value. After that, ma'am, if you can just elucidate on that, that will be very helpful for us, ma'am.
Very good, very good. Obviously, I can understand your point.
And even, ma'am, in correlation concept also, ma'am, I'm also from a non-psychology background. So thank you for the explanation. So in between, if you can give some more explanations, it will help us also, ma'am. Certain points. Okay.
Okay. Now, as I am talking with the social psychology, today's class is on social psychology. With the help of social psychology point of view, I can explain a bit little on correlation. Obviously, I am giving Yorkes-Dodson law. I am giving an example, which is Yorkes, known as Yorkes-Dodson law. If you have a pencil and pencil and copy with yourself, you just draw the diagram. So it will be more helpful to you to understand the point. Yerkes-Dodson law, if you study motivation in general psychology, under arousal theory also, you will get this particular point. So what happens, you just have to draw a graph, x-axis as well as the y-axis. X-axis and the y-axis. We all can able to draw an x-axis and the y-axis. So here I am taking two variables. To Shudeshna, I just want to mention one thing. In a single word, in a single sentence, if I want to mention what is variable, anything which is varies is variable. A single sentence reply. Anything which is varies is a variable. Like height varies, the height is a variable. Weight varies, weight is a variable. Color of the wall varies, it is a variable. Size
Can you
of
please
the
request
mobile
Nipa
phone.
Modula to mute herself?
Yes, Proma, do you want to say anything?
Ma'am,
Okay,
can you
Shudeshna,
please
you got your point.
Can you please request Nipa Mojumdar to mute herself? Because it's
Yes, Roma, always from the beginning of my class, I used to request all my students to mute themselves. From the beginning of my class, I just request all my students to mute themselves. If you need to say anything, you can unmute yourself. If you need to say anything, you can on your visual mode also, so that we can all identify yourself. You can write your chat box. If I not miss, I must mention those points, obviously. The thing is that anything which varies is variable. The age varies is variable. So what happens in psychology, we don't work with the height, weight, all those things. We work with intelligence, personality, motivation, with those things. Those things even, varies. And varies, that's why this can be considered as variable. So in Yerkes-Dodson law, what is the information I'm trying to deliver right now? In Yerkes-Dodson law, two variables are to be mentioned. One is the anxiety, another one is the performance level. If in the x-axis is the horizontal line. If in the x-axis horizontal line, you have to write anxiety level. You need to write anxiety level. In the y-axis, the vertical line, you need to write performance level. So obviously, in the anxiety level, this part is the beginning part of the line denotes the low, and the end part of the line denotes the high. In the y-axis also, the initial point of the y-axis denotes low, and the upward part of the y-axis denotes high performance. Suppose 3 points we need to made out. What happens? Our anxiety is low for a certain task. Our performance is also low that time. So we need to point a circle over there where our anxiety is low, as well as our performance level is also low. We need to point that there. Now, when our anxiety is in moderate level, our performance used to be very high. So we need to put a circle over there. The third point, why? This is most important point. Just mention it, just remember it carefully for your daily life also, because I know, whatever I tell my students, that whatever written in the book, don't restrict yourself within the book only. You have to utilize it in your daily life also. So when your anxiety is high, your performance is again low. So anxiety high, performance low. And if you just link the 3 curves, you will get this U shape. Because, anxiety when low, performance low, it is the initial part. When anxiety moderate, performance high, it is the medium zone. And in the last zone, end part, when where your performance level decreases, your anxiety is high that time also. So you are getting a curve from there. Generally, what happens, correlation is represented through a single line. But here we have found that the relationship between the 2 variables is a curvilinear. So correlation can be of a curvilinear type. Correlation is basically linear type, but it can be sometimes a curvilinear one. Why I have mentioned it? Because in social psychology as well as in general psychology, this theory, this Yakis-Dodson law, is very important one. So under correlation, when we are giving an example, it is a very relevant one. So what happens? We can theory testing. For theory testing also, correlation research approach often used. We can test many relationships with the help of the correlation. Research. There is no random assignment in correlational research. So for this to understand, we have to know what is randomization. Now, randomization is a highly scientific word which we usually do. But if you follow the word random in a layman term, its synonym will be arbitrary. So random is synonymously used for arbitrary things. But in psychology, during research, random means not an arbitrary one, rather a highly scientific value. Random, what is the name of correlation? Someone has written what is the name of correlation. I didn't get her point. Please, you can mention it later on also, or right now. So what is the meaning of randomization? You must have to meet as when you are studying the research method. Suppose in your copy, you can draw a normal probability curve whose end parts are not touching. The tails are not touching. We used to see this curve as asymptotic curve, a normal probability curve, MPC curve. Do you know what is a normal probability? Do you know how to write? It's like a bell-shaped curve. In that way, we used to draw. the baseline never touches its end part. Why not? This is called the population in our research. Population, suppose I being a researcher want to study the college students' certain behavior. So that time college students of India is the population of a mind. But it's not possible to me. Someone has written your case Dawson law, the spelling is error. Errors, you have done mistake in your spelling. Your case spelling YERKESDODSON. Your case Dawson law. Okay. So what happens? See, in the normal probability curve, your case Dawson law, right? So in the normal probability curve, what happens when we are drawing population? The end part never touches to each other. Because for me, as a researcher, I cannot able to say the exact number of college students in India. So, as I am unable to track all the college students of India, I cannot draw a curve whose end part touches each other. Because, the end part of the bell-shaped curve will be untouched, the end parts. Why? Because it goes to the infinite distance. I am not able to identify that these two parts will be merged with each other. This is the population. From population, we used to draw samples, who are called as samples, from those individuals with whom we can directly link with, and we can directly collect our data. From those to whom we can directly collect our data, they are the samples. So the sample is obviously a definite number. Why is the definite number? Because I am mixing with all individuals and I am collecting data. So I am, being a researcher, have a record how many individuals I have been communicated for data collection. So it's a definite number. So while we draw a sample through normal probability curve, we are drawing a sample, bell-shaped curve, normal probability curve, bell-shaped curve, but its end part obviously touches each other. Then this normal probability curve touching the baseline. Why it touches its baseline? Because the exact number of individuals is a definite exact one. I know as a researcher how many individuals are there in my study. So this is the sample. From the sample, we need to make group. We need to form group. It sometimes happens that from the population I am collecting so many samples. It may happen that from a population I am collecting one sample. It entirely depends on my research, nature of research. From the sample, I can draw 2 groups, 3 groups, so many groups. It again depends on the research. Depends on the research nature, on the levels of the independent variables. So I'm not going into the independent variables, but I'm just saying that it depends on the nature of my research. So in each and every step, from population to sample preparation, from sample to group formation, I, being the researcher, cannot do anything arbitrarily or for my own facility. It is my advantageous position, so that I am going to collect data in that typical way. No, these shouldn't work in a scientific work. Everything we have to do in a bias-free way. So in each and every step, from population to sample drawing, from sample to group formation, we need to follow randomization as a technique, so that we can approach parametric statistics, we can go for the experimental methods, we can go for the generalization, we can establish the truth, the result with the help of robust statistics. So randomization has immense value in methodology. What is randomization is a very common question wherever you go for your interview or for your examination. They can ask you anywhere, anytime. What is randomization? So you will find so many things are written in your book, but two main concepts. I'm not teaching methodology today, so I am just providing you the key concepts for gaining an understandability about the methods of social psychology. Randomization, if you say two important key points, two features, the examiner will understand that yes, you know the concept. What are they? First one is that randomization means independent observation. Suppose in my population, Ram, Sham, Jodu, Modhu, all are there. I have chosen, scientifically, I have chosen Ram as a member of sample. And Ram's friend is Sham. So as a Ram has been chosen into the sample, so I am thinking, okay, Sham is also his friend. So I am taking Sham also for gaining data, for taking data. They will come together. It will be helpful for me. At the same point of time, I will get both of the individuals' data. No, I can't able to do that because whoever I am choosing as for sample, that should be independent. Sham can be chosen for the sample in the sample group, but his chosen should be independent. His chosen, when I am selecting Sham, Sham's selection must not depend on Ram's selection. The independent observation is very important. And the second point is the equal probability of selection. Suppose from the 500 individuals, I have chosen Ram. So Ram's selection probability will be 1 by 500. Why 1 by 500? Because Ram is a single individual. So that is the 1. And in the denominator, that there is the 500. Why 500? Because out of 500 individuals, I have chosen Ram. So 1 by 500. While I am choosing Sham, that probability needs to be maintained. Needs to be maintained means while I am choosing Sham, the probability must not increase in the way that 1 divided by 499. I have to maintain the probability that 1 divided by 500. Unless the probability is gradually increasing. Because, you know, in randomization procedure, we need to maintain two things. One is the independent observation. Nobody's selection is dependent on the other body, and the equal probability of selection. Getting chance it should be equal for all the members in the group. That is the equal probability of selection for each and every unit of the group. So randomization is a procedure. We don't need to maintain randomization in correlational research always, but random assignment is generally used in somewhere else. So correlation is what we have talked about. It denotes the relationship, it describes, because it is a descriptive statistic. Here we can describe the relationship, the nature, the magnitude of the relationship and everything. Now the next method is the experimental method. So if we go for the only 5 minutes left for today's class, so it will be better that we are not going into the experimental method because there are so many things to study. And this experimental method, I will go with that in the next class of our social psychology. Beforehand, only 5 minutes left. If you have any question, anything to ask, you can ask me. I can give you a reply. I am continuing myself because we have limited time. I am continuing myself. If you have any question, you can write it in your chat box, or you can unmute yourself and can ask me the question. Now, what are the books to be followed for social psychology? You know, for every paper, you do have IGNU books. You can go with that book, and it's always good to go with that book because you are studying in IGNU. So your syllabus, your subtopics are getting more cleared if you go with the IGNU book. Now, the thing is that for the reference book, you need to go also because you know you have project to write, so it you will get more marks if you refer from the other books and write, so that your writing skill will be enriched and you do have much more information regarding anything. So for now, this is the lockdown phase, and in lockdown you cannot able to go outside. Online, first I am talking about the online book. Online ebook Kupuswami is available. Kupuswami, Kupuswamy. Kupuswami is available online. It's free. You can download free way. So social psychology book by Kupuswami. Otherwise, online you can get means from Amazon or Flipkart. You can get your social psychology book like Sears, Peplow, Taylor. A single social psychology book. The author names are Sears, S-E-A-R-S. Sears, Peplow, P-E-P-L-A-U, Peplow, and Taylor, T-A-Y-L-O-R, Taylor. This book is also good. But do you know, many of the times what happens? Suppose you are from Bengali version background, and you cannot able to study elaboratively so many things. Sears, Peplow, Taylor, yes, right. You cannot able to study elaboratively so many things. At that moment, I find myself that A.K. Singh, Arun Kumar Singh, probably he was the Orissa professor, Orissa University. He has written so many books. He has written, no, he is not from Orissa University, he is from Patna University. So Arun Kumar Singh has written so many books. He has written on methodology books also. Recently, 2 or 3 years before, he has written a social psychology book, Social Psychology by Arun Kumar Singh. It is very helpful for the Bengali version students also, because you know the writing is very comfortable one, because C.S. Peplow Taylor is a Western author. Their English is obviously different from ours. He is the Indian author, and it's a very enriched book, informative book. You can go with that book. Someone has requested to unmute myself. I am unmuted. Okay, so I am talking. I am saying, and hopefully you can understand my point.
I'm telling. I wanted to unmute, so that's why I wanted a permission from that.
Okay. Yes. What?
Ma'am, there is just one request, ma'am. Since you're talking about biostatistics also, ma'am, like it is not to the class.
Biostatistics is not my point. I will teach only social psychology and the personality psychology. Please tell the name of Patna University professor. Yes, it's a Arun Kumar Singh social psychology book. Yes, you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am. The request is, ma'am, like from us, ma'am, if you can please convey, like it is a request, ma'am. If we can have some more classes on biostatistics, ma'am, that would be a very good help for us, so that we can also, follow your points of view also, ma'am. Because most of us, as you know, we are not from the psychology background, and we are also weak in maths. So I
can understand.
It's just a request, ma'am.
Yes, I can understand your point, but you can request to the biopsychology teacher to give you more classes. Okay, she might help you. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you got my point?
Yes, ma'am. This is the only class of this July session that we have, the final class that we are having, ma'am. So we do not know how to contact. But we had a biostatistics. Very small, that's why.
Okay,
That was
okay,
just the
okay.
only thing.
I will
Thank you, ma'am.
convey it. Okay,
Thank
okay.
you
But
so
I
much.
also need to, I can't, I can only
I do
convey it.
understand. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you so
okay.
much.
So the thing is that you can refer those books. Those books are really very helpful. And Baron, social psychology book, Baron is also there, but few limited chapters are only mentioned over there. So it's better if you go with social psychology or Arun Kumar Singh, A.K. Singh. Social psychology, must remember, because Arun Kumar Singh, A.K. Singh has written a methodology book also, right? For methodology, you can refer that book also. So for CEO's Pepler Teller, you can social psychology book, you can go with that. Online available is Kupuswamy. You can go with Kupuswamy. Okay, because in your mobile you can study social psychology using that book also. So in that way, these are the helpful books. Okay. So it's all. Do you have any query regarding? I have seen that so many people has
Ma'am, I
asked
have a
to.
question.
Yes, Anirban?
Ma'am, what is the difference between implied and imagined presence of other individuals?
Implied and imagined. The thing is that যখন আমরা when we are thinking that someone is present, but maybe he or she is not present, that time it is the imagined. Okay, for the real presence, so we can understand that really that person is present over there. And implied, I need to check this implied presence. Okay, I can't explain that part right now, but for the implied presence of others, I will clear it in your next class. Okay, maybe we do have personality class, but if you are present in your personality class also, I will explain it over there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, okay. And see, many of you have written like to explain the correlation more. So a correlation, explanation of correlation, you will get it in your other classes also, because other teachers will also explain those methods, because these are the repetitive parts. And next class in the social psychology, I will start from the experimental methods, right? So when I am going to start from the experimental method, I will give you a comparison between correlational method and the experimental method. That time your correlational thing will be more clear. Is it okay? Thank you so much, ma'am. Shudeshna Mujumdar has written, but I haven't finished my classes. Didn't you enjoy the classes? I need to finish it hurriedly, actually. Thank you so much to all my dear students. Stay well, be safe, stay in the home, and be safe. The thing is that you are studying. The last point I need to mention that we are studying psychology. We are going to be a mental health professionals, but this is the prime time when the mental health professionals need to be activate themselves. These activations comes from the inside, not from the book itself. So you help yourself, you help to your friends, to your surrounding neighbors, so that I am not saying that physical don't maintain the physical distancing, maintain the physical distancing, but at the same point of time, try to help the others so that they can live happily. Their well-being need to be cared by you also, because you are a mental health professional. You are going to be a mental health professional. You need to maintain your mental conditions. You need to maintain your family members' mental conditions, and you also need to protect our nation's mental health condition. So the soldiers are not the warriors. You are also the warrior. Your activity is to protect right now. Your activity is to protect the mental health for all the individuals who are there in our surroundings. Right? Okay.
Ma'am, hello ma'am. Ma'am, what is the full form of APA?
What?
Ma'am, what is the full form of APA? American some
Psychological Association. Okay. You need to follow we usually follow two criteria. One is from the APS, that is from the American Psychological Association. They used to develop DSM books, actually, Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders. And another one is the WHO, World Health Organization, WHO. This is the Europe-based organization. They used to make ICD, International Classification of Disorders, Mental Disorders. In that way, it has been done. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. I have not yet collect the IGNO book, so I get to class online classes. That's why.
Okay, no issue. But for personality, you must go with the Holland Lindsay book. You can go with the Theories of Personality book named by Theories of Personality by Holland Lindsay, Theories of Personality by Rickman, Theories of Personality by Feast and Feast. These are all online available books. For social psychology, you can go with Arun Kumar Singh, A.K. Singh book. You can go with Sirius Pepler Taylor book, Kupuswamy. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am,
Just
the request, ma'am. Sorry, ma'am. Again, please, if you can, please convey that point also, ma'am. That
point?
ma'am, that statistics part to the RC, if it is possible, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
I will inform it to the coordinator, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I am then leaving because our classes time has been over. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.